All right, hello everyone. Hope everyone's having an amazing day. We'll be talking about immigration and custom enforcement, also known as ICE. We need to know the history of ICE, why it was created, how it was adopted, and why it needs to, be abolished. So let's start with the history. So after, 9/11, September 11, 2001, which was the deadliest terrorist attack in American history, the Department of Homeland Security was created to counter domestic and foreign terrorism. It combined 22 different federal departments. Those agencies included, FEMA, which is the Federal Emergency Management Agency, which deals with like aftermaths of hurricanes, tornadoes, and then you have also includes the Transport Security Administration, TSA, which deals with like airport security, and the United States Coast Guard. So from there, ICE was formed as a merger of the U.S. Customs Service and the Immigration and Naturalization Service. So putting immigration and customs enforcement under the Department of Homeland Security signaled a shift towards viewing immigrants as a threat to national security. I understand as a nation that we were on high alert at the time, but we should have never gaslighted immigrants in that way. Like I do understand, like a lot of people were in fear, scared because we had just been attacked, but that's just my personal opinion. But this nation was formed on immigrants and and slaves. But at the time, with the Patriot Act and all that, no one questioned it. However, even with this ICE formation was inevitable due to, in 1996, when Congress passed the Illegal Immigration Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act, it strengthened U.S. immigration laws, adding penalties for undocumented immigrants who commit minor violations, such as smuggling or racketeering or falsifying documents. Even though ICE was formed for security purposes, the government has given them little to no supervision, no oversight committee. I mean, they pretty much do whatever they want. So, and now we're going to get into some of the things that they have done and why they need to just start over and just get rid of the whole program. So, getting into that, since ICE was formed in 2003, over 100,000 detainees. They've had over 100,000 of detainees, and a lot of them, and majority of them, have been deported. Just in 2019 alone, ICE arrested over 143,000 people and deported 267,000, which that was like the people arrested over multiple years. They also have 20,000 employees and have an annual budget of $6 trillion. Despite this large money budget, doing investigations and doing some oversight committee, they were found that, according to the Department Homeland Security Inspector General report that they found in January 2019, found that very much understaffing, failure to provide mental health observation, and monitor detainees with actual criminal history, such as gang violence, smuggling, or abuse, and not separating them from the general population. So you had like people that just got caught with a speeding ticket, didn't have their documentation, or like kids that also got caught busted without documentation. They were not separated from actual criminals that have committed like murder or gun smuggling or things like that. So like the detainees didn't like separate any of them. So obviously the violent felons and all that were seeing those innocent people that just got thrown in, and obviously a lot of incidents happen. And that's what the thing ICE didn't do, is separate the violent people from the non-violent people. And other unacceptable atrocities include, according to AmericanOversight.org, in June 2019, a legal team interviewed 60 children while at a border facility near El Paso, Texas, and they described neglect, inadequate food, lack of water, and sanitation, which, no matter if you're in prison or not, I mean, everybody should have food, water, and some type of sanitation. I mean, that's just inhumane and all that, but that just sounds like, concentration camps have similar things like that. And they were treated very poorly, even treated even worse than, regular American prisons. Even though they have lots of funding, they still had all this money and resources, but still couldn't provide food, water, or anything. And some kids were found to be malnourished, which I think is absolutely unacceptable. Going on from there, another incident that one visiting physician told his bosses how the facilities have extremely cold temperatures, lights are on 24/7 a day in the state of Texas at the same facility that I mentioned earlier near El Paso. Members of Congress such as Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez were told from detained women that they were drinking from toilet water because they had a huge lack of running water, and they didn't give like water bottles or anything like that. So if you're obviously noticing a pattern here, in the state of Texas, they have a lot of facilities here that are just not up to par. And a lot of these atrocities keep happening, and they're unacceptable, and no one's doing anything about it. And that's what happens when you don't have an oversight committee to make sure that even though that there are illegal immigrants being detained, that they're actually being treated humanely and they're not subject to neglect, inadequate food, or lack of water. So, and going on from there, however, it even gets even worse. So according to TheIntercept.com, they obtained over 1,224 complaints of sexual and physical abuse in immigrant detention centers. Out of all of those, over half the people accused of those abuse were ICE employees. And out of all those 1,224 complaints, only 43 investigations were ever conducted. So then again, we go about no oversight. You get all these ICE, sexually abusing prisoners, children, and, physically abusing them as well, and no one's actually doing anything about it. So it's just obviously this is all crimes against humanity and unacceptable, and something's got to be done about it. And we've done a lot of different reforms and different things like that, and this has happened under the Bush, Obama, and the Trump administration. So, like I said, this has just been a rampant problem, no matter who the president is or who is in office. So we can't necessarily put the blame really anybody, but I will get into something that has happened under this recent administration. The disastrous family separation policy enacted by the Trump administration caused thousands of kids to be separated, thousands of their parents to be separated from their kids once they crossed the border. With that being said, there are at least 5 million U.S. children with at least one undocumented parent. The intensification of immigration enforcement activities by the federal government has increasingly put these children at risk of family separation, economic hardship, and psychological trauma. The processing and detention procedures make it difficult to arrange care for these children when these parents are arrested. They'll be in different ICE facilities, and, people are separated from their parents, and children are basically taking care of other children. You have, 10-year-olds taking care of babies, 10-year-olds taking care of 5 and 6-year-olds. You have 13-year-olds taking care of their little brother without, parental supervision or some type of guidance. I mean, imagine if, you get separated from your parents and you just don't have any child care skills, and you're basically trying to help everybody out. Nothing, there's no ICE agents aren't doing their jobs, trying to make sure these kids are fed, have water, or anything like that. So it's just a complete mess. And lots of times, these kids, their parents, they're forced to sign voluntary departure papers, and they'll leave the country before they will call an immigration lawyer to, back up their case, family. Lots of times The kids' parents will forcibly have to sign the voluntary departure papers and leave the country before they can call an immigration lawyer to help with their case. Family to let them know that they're obviously going back to their home country, or a consulate. Consulate's basically like an embassy of their home country to basically process paperwork and possibly help them out. Just like, for example, if you were in Germany and you had like a issue, you can always contact the U.S. Embassy if you ever have any international issues, something like that. But a lot of these people, when they're processed, they're not given the ability to get access to these different resources that they're entitled to. So with that, with these kids and all these things I mentioned, it's just like you would think that the government, as much as they say they always want to help out lots of different people, no matter if you're a citizen or not, well, they're obviously failing at doing their job. And the last thing I wanted to add, which is, in my opinion, the most disturbing of all of this, is according to the New York Times, the Trump administration was unable to find the locations of 1,500 migrant children who illegally entered the U.S. alone, after placing them with sponsors after leaving their federal shelters, according to congressional findings released. So not only are they mistreating kids, mistreating immigrants, not giving them the resources, now they're absolutely missing kids. So with that being said, ICE cannot be trusted to process these things. This is why we've tried reform, we've tried change, we try to do everything, it just doesn't work. So the best option, hang on one second, we got a plane. So, like I said, we tried change, we've tried reform, it doesn't work. We need to just scrap the whole system and just start over. And with that saying start over, well, the different things that if ICE were to be abolished would be given to different things with ICE when it comes to taking care of detainees, deporting people, giving resources will be allocated to different organizations as part of the Department of Homeland Security. And I think that's actually better that way because, it's kind of spreading things out instead of trying to do exactly one thing. And that's in my opinion, the best way to go is if a system constantly is not working, sometimes you have to press the reset button and temporarily give the responsibility to other organizations until they can figure things out. So the last thing I wanted to add is I wanted to read out your rights in case you are, an immigrant and you're being, arrested or processed by ICE. It is given by the ACLU. So I'm going to read these out. So it is important to be prepared to know your rights in the case of a raid or other encounter with ICE. And you have these rights. You have the right to remain silent and do not have to discuss your immigration or citizenship status with police, immigration agents, or other officials. Anything you tell an officer can later be used against you in immigration court. If you are not a U.S. citizen and an immigration agent requests your immigration papers, you must show them if you have them with you. If an immigration agent asks if they can search you, you have the right to say no. Agents do not have the right to search you or your belongings without your consent or probable cause. If you are over 18, carry your papers with you at all times. If you don't have them, tell the officer that you want to remain silent or that you want to consult a lawyer before answering your questions. And the five most important things to do during an ICE raid. Stay calm and do not run away. Remain silent or tell the ICE agent that you want to remain silent. Ask to speak to a lawyer. Do not sign any documents or answer questions without your lawyer present. Record details and names of officers. And those rights are guaranteed by the Constitution, which applies to citizens and non-citizens. And that is the proper way to deal with ICE if you have to encounter them. This was a great discussion. You had to know the atrocities that ICE has been doing and why they have to get rid of, and the rights that you have if you have to deal with them. So I appreciate the time that you've given me to discuss this, and have an amazing day. Appreciate it.